If you're somewhere in retirement or close to it, and something about this chapter doesn't fit the way you thought it would, I want to tell you about a moment that happened to me on a Tuesday morning a few weeks after I had retired. Now, it was a small moment. Nothing dramatic happened, but looking back now, I think it named something I couldn't yet explain. And by the end of this video, I want to share a simple way you can begin to name what may be happening for you too. I retired after a long career in education leadership. The financial plan was sorted. I'd been working on my website for a while, building something that would let me keep teaching in a different way once I left. I had a list of course books I was finally going to read, places I was going to go to. The whole thing looked good on paper. And then, somewhere around week 3, I remember sitting at my kitchen table on a Tuesday morning with a cup of coffee that went cold, and I felt something I didn't have a name for. It wasn't boredom, it wasn't relief, it wasn't sadness exactly. It was something subtler, a kind of dislocation, like the version of me who had been needed by something for 40 years had simply disappeared. And I hadn't realised how much of who I was had been built on being needed. It took me a while to write down what I was actually feeling. When I did, the sentence that came out was a question. It went like this: what would I do if no one needed me to be anyone in particular? Now, because underneath all the practical questions about retirement, what will I do with my time, where will I live, how will I stay busy, how will I keep healthy, there is often a much deeper question. Who am I now? Who am I when the structures that used to tell me who I was are no longer there in the same way? And I think many people feel some version of that question, even if they don't always say it out loud. I've spent the years since then watching people move through this exact transition, and what I've noticed again and again is that a retirement that truly feels like your own usually rests on 4 key ingredients, and they are energy, connection, purpose, and vision. Now, most people I speak to are already quite strong in 1 or 2 of these areas. Another area may have slipped. And often there is one they haven't really looked at closely enough. That's completely understandable. When we're inside our own lives, it can be surprisingly hard to see what's missing. We get used to the stories we tell ourselves about what we need, what we should be grateful for, what we're supposed to want at this stage of life. And after a while, these stories become so familiar that we stop questioning them. So I created something. A short quiz, 12 questions, takes about 2 minutes, that takes your answers and reads back to you in writing where you actually are in those 4 key ingredients, what your strongest one is, where the work probably is, and the stage of the transition you're in. It's a short, reflective quiz based on my self-coaching framework and the work inside my course, Your Retirement Your Way. It doesn't dispense advice. I'm an educator, not a therapist or a financial advisor. What it does is ask better questions and then write back to you in the kind of voice you'd want a thoughtful friend to use. Now, if something I've said today resonated with you, the quiz is probably worth 2 minutes of your time. The link is in the description below this video, and I'll pin it as the first comment as well. Now, a few things I want to be honest about before you click. The quiz is free. The reading you get back is yours. There's no payment, no subscription, and no obligation. There is an option afterwards to get a longer personalised reflection if you feel it will help you. So, what I suggest is this: don't read your report on the run. Don't squeeze it in between emails, appointments, or the next thing to do on your list. Just give yourself a little quiet space with it. Read what comes back slowly. Notice the parts that feel accurate, the parts that surprise you, and the parts you may want to resist at first. You might even take out a notebook and write a few thoughts as you go. Because the purpose of this quiz isn't to hand you a perfect answer, it's to help you pause long enough to see your own life a little more clearly. Sometimes the most useful insight isn't, here's exactly what I need to do next. Sometimes it's simply, oh, that's the question I haven't really been asking myself. If the kitchen table moment I described at the beginning made any kind of sense to you, even a little, then perhaps that's worth paying attention to. The quiz is here when you're ready, not to label you or tell you who you are, but to give you a starting point for seeing your own retirement more clearly. I'm glad you watched.